Good evening, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of cybersecurity management. I hope you're having a good week. How's the week have been since last time we met?
Yeah, mine's been good, thanks.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. The weather is warming up, so I hope we are enjoying the weather now.
You think? You think
No?
this is warming up? It's been freezing.
Are you in Victoria, Karen?
Yeah, I'm in
Really?
Melbourne.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
All right.
like 16 degrees the other day.
Okay.
I guess that's not too bad for Melbourne.
Yeah, I think tomorrow is gonna be hot.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to deflect, I guess. Yeah, the weather is very unpredictable here.
fair enough.
Friday's 36, so you
Oh,
have your wish.
36. No, that's too much. That's too much. Too much. What do you usually do on a hot day like that? I mean, I hope you guys don't have lecture on Friday. I mean, it's good to go to university on such a hot day.
I just stay in air conditioning.
Right. Okay. Think too hot is not very conducive to thinking and reflecting. So I think if you have tried, if you have started with the assignment, it's great. If you have not, then maybe you might want to try to avoid hot day. I think you think better in a bit cooler temperature. I think you miss a call. Speak too soon. Babak. Um, okay. All right. I think we have a hot weekend ahead of us, but so let's try to enjoy the weather today. And it's good that we have our lecture today, so everyone is still in a good mood, I hope. So week 3, and remember the assignment is looming next week, right? So I hope you guys has all started, and I saw a lot of questions on Teams regarding um, the assignment, so that's good. But has anyone have any other question regarding the assignments or any logistic costs matters about the unit? Please raise your hand and yeah, and ask. See if I can help you with those. Remember, the assignments are quite straightforward and there's no trick question there, right? And just don't overthink it. I think it's not too hard. So let's do the best. Okay, so there's no questions on the unit, so I will just move on.
One question, and
Yes, Raju.
so I was checking the Turnitin score, backloading the assignment yesterday, and it was highlighting some of the citations in the bottom of the page and single words. I mean, 10% it is just like replicate word kind of marking. Is there any threshold kind, uh,
Uh,
5% allowed, 10% allowed kind of?
I think 10% is good. 10% is good. You cannot avoid overlapping sometime. Especially I see some student actually rephrase a question or just copy the question into the submission, and then that would increase or
To me, just
score a
copy
lot.
question into the document. It was fine.
No, you don't have to. But I mean, if you happen to copy the question in, then Turnitin will flag it. So
Okay.
yeah. If you just write the assignment by yourself, then yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. Yeah. If you write them from scratch, don't worry about this. Turn it in. Yeah. Okay. Go good. Let me chase. All right. So this week we will turn our focus on what the enterprise or the companies have to do with cybersecurity, right? So the first week lay out some foundation, some principle on cybersecurity, and week 2 is about the prevailing laws, right? Because everything have to all to operate under the law, and cybersecurity and companies are no exceptions. So this week, from this week, we will focus on what the company have to do to have a good cybersecurity program in their companies. And this week is just like some high level overview about planning and about governance and how important those tools are. Right, and I'll just quickly go through some of the main points of the lecture this week. And I think the most important is, why do we need planning? Right? Why do you need some why do you have to take the management unit of cybersecurity to deal with cybersecurity? And it is because of some of the main challenges in cybersecurity. The first one is evolving threat landscape. It means the attacker doesn't just sit still, right? He's constantly improving himself, and with new technologies, new threats. So what is considered as safe today will not be safe tomorrow. Yeah, so you have to be constantly on the lookout for new threats, and that's why you need proper planning. Okay, you cannot just wing it. Because a new threat would be very different to the old threat. So you have to have a proper structured planning in place to deal with them. And the second challenge you have in dealing with cybersecurity is that you have finite or limited resources. Okay, if imagine you have unlimited budget, right? You have billions and billions of dollars to spend on cybersecurity, then you don't need to worry about planning. You just hire the best cybersecurity company out there and do it for you. Right? But you have limited resources. You have a small amount of money to spend, so you have to do resource allocation, and that proper planning. And the third challenge that you cannot have everything, right? There's no 100% secure solution, and some assets that you are trying to protect are more important than the others. So it means that you have to sometimes you have to balance the risk and reward. There's some risks that you have to accept. There's some security risks you have to accept, and you have to be clear on what are they, what are the risks and what are the rewards. So if you look at these three main challenges, something might strike you is this: one challenge is missing from this list. Can you think back on the material, on what we have learned in week 1 and week 2, and think about what other major challenge are there in cybersecurity? Why do we need planning? Why do we need planning for that? Is it based on what we have learned in week 1 and week 2? Okay. Why is this challenge? Why is this challenging in like managing cybersecurity, that you need some planning, you need some proper planning? Besides this three, what do you think? So raise a hand, or you can type it in the chat and I will see it in the chat. Karen, yes?
Is it necessary to ensure that there's good compliance with laws and that the ethics align with the business?
Yes, I think that is absolutely important, and this is not easy thing to do, right? Because the law is very complicated, and often they have conflicting requirement that conflict with our business interests. So you have to navigate the legal landscape, and it's not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of requirement on privacy and a lot of requirements on like cyber safe that you have to comply to. So this is one challenge. It's very, very important too. That's why you need planning. That's why you need to put someone with legal expertise in the team to deal with all the legal matter. Okay. Yeah, so that's what that is one of the challenges I have in mind about the law and compliance. But anyone else have any other challenge that you can think of on why cybersecurity need proper planning and management, and why can't you just wing it? For example, let's deal with it when it comes. Okay. I think there's another point that is sort of subsumed in this evolving threat landscape is that there's a evolving technology landscape as well, right? So new technology that need to be included into the company, they introduce new threats, right? So you have to deal with this, and you need proper planning for that. Yes, Dion?
Just answering your question, if there was a breach, the risk to revenue for the company would be significant.
Yeah. Yeah, so you say that the challenge here is to realize that there's a risk to the company, that the risk of breach is very challenging. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. And I think it's sort of like included in this balancing risk and reward here. When we say balancing risk and reward, we mean that we have to be able to identify the risk in the first place.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point. Yep.
Yeah. But I like it that you are very specific, very concrete, and yeah, that is very good point. Yes, Ming Hua.
Yeah, I just want to ask, like, when you refer to like planning, is it like planning just risk in case of a breach, or is it planning as in training your employees?
Yep, I think this is very good question to ask, and this is exactly what we're gonna talk about now. I think, yeah, planning have many different meanings. So thanks, yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, following up on that, I just move on to answering Juan's question, which is what is planning? Yeah, so planning is a process of identifying goals and objectives and identifying the strategies or approach to achieve that goals. And part of the process is that you need to be able to measure how well you are doing related to that goal. Right? So planning is a process, and when we talk about cybersecurity planning, it means anything related to cybersecurity. So it's not only the risk related to data breach, but like how you secure yourself and how you improve so cybersecurity strength and how you improve the employee awareness as well. Okay, so it's all part of the planning. So planning is just only the tool for you to realize a high level security goal. Okay, so cybersecurity planning, I think one of the most important requirements is that it has to align with the function of the business objective, right? Because cybersecurity is a part of the business, and if the goal is completely against or detrimental to the business objective, then it's a no-go. So whatever you plan, it has to align with the business objectives. So there's a hierarchy in terms of planning. There's a process in planning too. It comes from the top. Right? So the first plan is So it's an enterprise strategic plan. It comes from the top hierarchy of the management, and it is you to create the. It's like very broad plan, and different business units will take that plan and come up with their own strategic plan, very specific to their own business unit. For example, the security division will have their own security plan, security strategic plan. The IT division have their own strategic plan. Finance or HR might have a different plan. And based on this strategic plan, each of the unit will turn it into tactical plan. It's more specific, more concrete, and but still not concrete enough. And that is where operational plan comes in. Operational plan is like day-to-day tasks that need to be done to achieve the plan. So there's a hierarchy there, and it's getting more specific if you go from the top to the bottom. And yeah, so strategic planning, the scope of it is for a long period of time in terms of years, measured in terms of years, and its focus is to define the mission of the company, like the high level goals. And this is the top level management who have to deal with this strategic planning. And then middle management are the one who deal with tactical planning. This means they take the strategic planning and then turn them into medium-term objectives and strategies that achieve that objectives. And operational planning is like day-to-day things. And last but not least is contingency planning, is what you do when things go wrong, right? Not if things go wrong, but in cybersecurity, you have to plan for the worst. So contingency plan need to be in place when bad thing happen, and it's applied to all level of management. Because when bad things happen, all the employee will get affected. Okay, so at the top, we have strategic plan, and we sort of see them a lot when we apply for a job, for example, when we when we want to research about a new company. And we see them in the form of mission statements or vision statement or values, right? And for example, one example is Deakin University. Deakin is a company, is an enterprise, and as an enterprise, we have a mission statement and we have a vision statement too. Sometimes these two are like the same, they interchangeable, but the subtle different from what you can see here is the mission statement is about what the company want to do, and the vision is what they want to become. So quite related, really. And the values are like what their principles, right? So when you apply for a job, for example, then you have to make sure that you demonstrate that the core values align with this value of the companies, right? And yeah, maybe it's a good exercise to see what the mission statements of Dickens are, just to remind ourselves what is Dickens' vision or missions are. Yeah, I think I can have it here. Let's bring it here. Oh, so we have value, but do we have mission? Okay. Okay, our vision and values. They did not actually say what our visions, but the values, yeah, the values are the core principle, the core ethical principle and belief that we want to foster, the company want to foster, like brave, ethical, excellent, inclusive, and dynamic. I remember a long time ago, I saw some vision statement or missions somewhere. Does anyone remember what is the mission of Dickens? I think they sort of remove it. Wow. Remember, just last year, we sort of like saw a vision statement somewhere. But Anyway, yeah, I think big companies like Google and Facebook, they definitely have this. Like, I think Facebook mission is to enable a interconnected world or something like that. Yeah, I think they changed that after the U.S. president election 8 years ago. Okay, so go on. Let's take an example of a business plan. No, of objective and goals, and see how they differ. Okay, so the business objectives is some global company, for example, they want to expand its customer base by 15% over the next year. Right, so this one is more at the strategic planning. Okay, so the strategic goals um, is to expand the customer base by 15% over the next year. And then given that business goal, cybersecurity goals say that our goal is to minimize data exposure to cybersecurity risk. Right, so one of the important requirements of this planning goals is that it have to align with the business goal, right? So I want you to actually take a look at and think about this cybersecurity goal of minimizing data exposure to cybersecurity risk. And can you think why this goal aligns with the business objective of expanding its customer base by 15% over the next year? Okay, I actually see the discussion question here. Yeah, so let's pause for a few minutes and reflect on this question about the alignment of the goal and the objectives. What do you think? Why do you think this goal makes sense in relation to this business objective? Because I mean, from the first glance, it's quite different, right? One talks about obtaining more customer, the other one is about minimizing cybersecurity risk. So why are they related? Yes, Karen.
Is it too soon to say something about it, or should I wait a
Yeah.
few minutes?
I mean, if you already thought of something, then please.
Yeah, so thanks. So yeah, I was just gonna say that I think it does align because the organisation would rely on public trust to increase its customer base, and so if they minimise the cybersecurity risks and breaches and leaks and other issues that they have, then that could increase public trust to attract more customers.
Okay. Yep. I think this is a good marketing tactic to increase the public trust, right? To say that you have a very strong cybersecurity posture in the company that can make sure the data is secure. So that would attract new customer. But do you think that is enough to improve like by 15% over the year? I mean, like in a very in very competitive space, for example, then there's many options. Then the customer is maybe hard to get that.
Yeah.
15%. Right? Yes, Hua, Hua.
Just as like a counterpoint, I think why cybersecurity is very important in maybe a field like insurance or medical care. If you run like a landscaping business, I think, would be better serve your business objective if you invest that money into marketing, for example, rather than cybersecurity, because most people don't really care about their landscaping info getting out there in the world. So
I think that's a very, very valid point, and it's true that we do not have a specific detail of what this company ABC does in this example, right? But I think if we can assume that ABC have something to do with the customer data or customer data. That's why they want to do this, right? But you are right. You are right. If ABC has nothing to do with customer data, then this is security goal is completely irrelevant. Okay, so what I'm hearing now is that by minimizing data exposure, you build trust, like build public trust, and as a result, you may expect more customers over the year. Okay, that makes sense. Any other advantage that related to customer you think that from this cybersecurity goal?
Maybe not only attracting though. Think that customers are willing to join this company or as a part of the company.
Mm.
What if the security or else the network is not good and the people are not able to join the company?
Ah, I see. Are you talking? Yeah, suggesting like denial of service attack sort of thing? That
Yes.
oh, okay, okay, yeah. I think that is a very specific example. I'm not sure whether it will happen a lot in practice that the attack is so bad that it would prevent people from signing up. But yeah, that is a valid point. Okay, so how about existing customer then? Do you think let's go do anything to the existing customer?
Yes, for the existing customers also, it would impact the business operations if there is any uh, impact to their network. If they are not able to access the services of the company,
Mm.
they might
Okay.
leave the company because if they find something else, some
Yeah.
other competitor who is doing good,
Yeah.
they might
So
customers as well.
that's good. That's good. You seem to circle back to the fact that this cybersecurity goal seem to be related to denial of service attack, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Andres?
Yeah, I'm not quite understand this concept. Like, how can we quantify security, like in percents of security gaps, for example? How this can be practically measured, and for the clients, how this can be conveyed to them, how they understand what it means. Like, if we tighten security gaps by 40%, what practically that means. I feel like the only thing they will take out of this is our security is not good right now. So it can would actually damage the brand rather than help it if we will announce this.
Mm. Okay. Are you referring to the objectives
Yes,
sentence
I
here?
mean, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll come back to to that discussion shortly. But there's another hand here, King. Hey.
Hi, I also focus on the objective. So, because of the objective, it stated that implement a vulnerability patching strategy to reduce the security gap.
Mm.
Somehow, for the cybersecurity goal is to, it is maybe the story is the ABC company have some incident before that is related to data exposure and make the public doubt on the cybersecurity risk management.
Okay.
So they have to do something or have to have this goal to reduce the security gap, and it brings to a good image to the public and the customer, and then it can help to explain the customer's base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's before there's a lose of the customer base, and then so that they would like to catch it up, so that they have this goal.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my imagination of thinking.
Yeah, I think that is a very logical way of thinking about this. And I think you agree with Karen earlier about the reputation, right? How doing this would improve the reputation of the company. So they may attract more customer or like crawling back the customer who has left them, maybe. Right. So that's good discussion. I think I agree totally with the idea that by doing this cybersecurity, by identifying this goal, they can improve public trust, and that by that they can attract more customer. But also that for the existing one, I think it's very important to build their confidence as well, so that they become more loyal. For example, the customer who still choosing between two company, I mean, if the company ABC decided to do this, they said, oh, now they seem to be a good one, so I will stick with them, right? So I'm not a business person, but I think one of the tenet in business is that you should spend more time trying to retain the existing customer, right? Try on recruiting new ones. So if you can retain the existing one for longer, it will be better, and it will make it would make the task of acquiring the 15% more customer easier. All right. So going back now, going from the goal to the objective, the companies say that, okay, to minimize the data exposure risk, its objective is to implement a vulnerability patching strategy that reduce the gap by 40% in 6 months. So Andres raised a very interesting question on how you measure this 40%, because if you look down a bit further, on the very next slide on how you check the objective is have to be measurable, right? And the question, very interesting question is how can you measure is 40%, right? So it's mean like 40% compared to what is a question. So anyone want to chime in here? Anyone want to comment on how would you measure, how would you deliver on this 40% figures in 6 months? So if it were you who write this objective, you must have some sort of like vague idea of how you would live up to this this promise, right? And yes, Karen.
So there would have to be, yeah, like you said, there would have to be some sort of benchmark of what's been identified that possibly hasn't actually been actioned or solved or treated in any way. And I guess for bigger organisations especially, they would probably have a large list of different sorts of risks that have different priority levels. Excuse me. So I guess what I'm saying is that I think that would be based on what's actually been identified, that 40%. But yeah, if there's no idea about what the gaps actually are, then that makes it a bit different.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thanks, Karen. Daniel.
Yeah, look, coming into this from a technical perspective, you'd have to implement some sort of vulnerability scanning solution, and then report against your assets and what what patches uninstalled.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could be a little bit shifty and do it based on categorizing your assets. Say internet facing is obviously critical, so that has to be patched. Yep. And then you could argue that anything that's not internet facing maybe isn't as critical.
Yeah, you can try to pick the low-hanging fruit first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. And yeah, so this 40% is achievable and measurable once you have that list, I guess. And I think that is aligned with what Karen was saying, like whether you have a benchmark somewhere. And Daniel provided a good answer to what benchmark would look like. Is as you run through some vulnerability scanning too. Yes, King Hey.
Yeah, I agree with what Karen and Daniel said, because there should be some scanning or audit that will implement based on the by the third-party agent, which is the company may require to do regularly, and then they based on that report, they will have the result which show that is not qualified in some security gap, and then they will have to this 40% to achieve in a certain time. For the 6 months, it's maybe they have to achieve or comply to some industry standard, or to maintain to fix it, or to increase to reduce the security gap in order to hold some license, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a good point. It's just deadline there is to push them to work. Otherwise, they can just delay it forever. Yes, Andres, does this seem to answer all questions?
Not quite.
All
You
right.
see, the way I understand security gaps is potential security problems, security threats, which can be in the system. So if we want to reduce those a bit, I guess the first thing we need to know about those. And if we know the gaps exist, we know security issues is, question is why are we not yet patching them? Why we're not doing it? How can we just leave them running in the system? That's what I would never do in my system, honestly. I don't understand that. So, and if we don't know about them, then we cannot really measure something we don't know about. So when we say reduce by security %, I would not really, if it will be my objective, I will not really form it like this. I would probably form it like increase, let's say, increase scanning, implement some advanced tactics to detect intrusions, to early detect vulnerabilities. But it would be based on that, but it would never be like security gaps 40% in 6 months. It just doesn't work for me as a goal, as an objective. It just doesn't know what to do with that.
I mean, I must say that this objective listed in this example is not the ground truth, right? It's just firstly, it's not comprehensive, it's not complete. So there could be other objective as well, and this is only one example. But I think the argument is perfectly valid because security gap is mostly hidden, right? I mean, even the one that is identified by the tools. The tools are not complete, right? Just because they spit out 100 vulnerabilities, that it doesn't mean there's only 100. There could be many more. So yeah, so on that point, I agree with you. But on the other point, you say that why people only do 40%, right? For that comment, I just want to say whether Daniel or Karen have any response like to that on why you have that list and you only do 40% of it.
Question to me?
Yep. Oh, sorry. You go.
Or is it Karen? Well, I would assume some of those security issues might not be critical for the system. They can be hard or not possible to exploit without a certain level. And in this case, if fixing them would require huge resources, you can mitigate this risk differently by rerouting something, by creating additional measures to prevent exploit. But kind of no, the issue is there, just make it unexploitable. But even that would not mean that I only did 40% of the work. I still want all my bases to be covered. Especially if something I know is a threat, I will not just leave it there, hanging like that, and just hope no one else will discover it.
But I guess you sort of answering the question here. I mean, the comments there when you say that is priorities, and there's some low risk and some that is very difficult to patch, for example. And so you have, I mean, you, of course, it's the goal is to patch everything, but within 6 months, maybe not possible to patch it.
Yes, but even if it's not possible to patch, there can be other ways to mitigate these risks, or at least create a certain contingency plan. What happens if this actually be exploited, to reduce the amount of damage this will cause.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Thanks, Andres. Babak, you raise a hand.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. I guess one thing I would just add here, because there's a lot of unknowns in this question, and I guess that's the point, to come up with different ideas. I would just add in that, companies do external security assessments as well, pen tests, etc., and vulnerability scanning, and these things are also investigated, and after a pen test, systems are hardened, etc. So one way is to do a pen test prior and after 6 months, and then you can probably look at that objective of 40%, and yeah, that's just something else to maybe consider.
Yeah. So that's why we have the strategy of vulnerability scanning and the tactics of vulnerability assessment here, I guess.
Oh, right.
Is to have that. Yeah. But you're thinking ahead. That's good. Hi, Karen. Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so I was just going to answer that question as well from my perspective. So I think one of the big reasons why you wouldn't just fix everything is obviously back to the challenges and constraints that we were talking about before in terms of resource and evolving threats and just balancing risk and working out what the most critical issues are that need to be resolved sooner than others. So yeah, that was just to answer that question about the why would only 40% be targeted in 6 months.
Yep, that's good. Thanks, Karen. Yes, King Hay.
Yeah, I agree with what Blablack say that there's must be some third-party security assessment. Yeah, because this from my past experience, I was working in bank before, and when we acquire one partner in the partnership with our projects, we will appoint them to do a third-party assessment by a recognized organization. And what we found that there are some security gap and then security problems that from the report. So that I think mostly they have in this case they have an objective, have a very certain percentage in a certain date in 6 months. There should be something like related to that certain report and then to achieve. But of course, it is not detailed enough to show this in this example.
Yes, I think we all agree that we need some way to define the gaps, right? Some way to define what the gaps are before we can say we can reduce them by 40%. But as King has said, that they come in form of report from a third party, for example, or we can, or as Arthur has mentioned, we can engage third party to do vulnerability assessment or even pen testing. And at the end they usually give us a list of things that we can do, and then we can just sort of like sort them and put some risk number on them, and then try to do as much, like up to 40%, like at least for 40%, to deliver. Okay, any other questions about this example? As I said, these objective strategies, tactics are only an example. They're not complete, and you might have a complete different objective to realize this goal. That is fine. This only to show like the difference of level of details between the goal, the objective, the strategy, and tactics, right? So in this example, the objective is to reduce this gap, and the strategy is how you achieve that objective. And this strategy is only one strategy. You can do some other strategy too. And this strategy here is patch management and vulnerability scanning across all business critical system. So it doesn't say that whether you do it in-house or you engage a third party. So you can have another strategy of employing a third party to do this. And the tactic is to schedule it quarterly. So here where you see the time frame comes in, right? In the business goal, that's like the top level, the time frame is in a year, and at the objective you have the time frame in 6 months, and in the tactics is like 3 months. So it's just, when you go lower and lower, then the time frame gets shorter and shorter, and description become more concrete and more technical. Right? Okay, so governance. Okay, so this one is a word that still elude my understanding a lot. What does government? So in this slide, it explains what does governance means. It's try to define it as a set of rules, practices, and process that guide and control the company, right? So, but if you put what is governance means on the internet, you find so many different definition of it. Right. So I just want to ask the audience here: do you have any other sort of way to understand governance, especially if you can contrast this to other concepts like management? I mean, how does governance differ to management? Because here, when it say that these are the things that guide and control a company, right? Isn't that what management does? So what does governance mean differently? Daniel, yes, please.
Yeah, so I would say that governance, it's the guardrails that the managers use to enforce those rules and practices and processes. So they would go, look at the documentation for patching and go, hey guys, this is what we need to do.
Okay.
In the example of like a critical infrastructure, and say we're bound by, government policies that we have to patch this, patch that. And that's
So
yeah,
so what you talk about is governance policy. So is that a different document than security policy? I mean, can you see the distinction between them, or is this a word? So governance in the example mean the same as security, or is it mean
no,
something
not
different?
necessarily. Like I think it's more just we need to do things, and this is how we do them.
Okay, so this is the content of the policy, is that right? Or are you talking, so the governance in the example means the content of the policy?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, interesting. All right. Thanks, Daniel. Because I mean, the way that I read it in the internet and how people interpret in the industry may be completely different, because even the internet does not agree on what governance means. So yeah, so let me see how people understand these words. So Ming-Kwa said that he's always thought that governance means complying with the government's regulations. Yeah, so this is another sort of confusing thing, is governance is very close to government, right? But can anyone here distinguish governance from government?
I mean, it all comes down to the start of that, the word govern, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
It's the government tells you this
so
is, these are the laws you need to follow.
So then what does the governance do differently then? I mean,
can we call it a system, not just a system which is company is ruled by?
You said this is a system. It's a complicated system. It's a complicated system. And what does this system do?
Basically, it's a system of some practices, of some processes, which corporate management is done. Basically, is going. So company has a set of rules. How company rules itself.
Oh, so the rule about the rules, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that is a good way to understand it. Yeah. Okay, there's a hands up from King Hey. Yes, King Hey.
For my for my understanding that corporate governance should be higher than the management because the
In what
corporate
sense?
governance,
In what
yeah,
sense?
it is approved by the board director and all, and then it will governance the company's direction and how it run. And for the management, it's more like on the CEO or the management team that is under it is appointed by the board
Oh,
to
okay.
in response for to operate the company. So I think corporate governance is much higher than that. It's just a rule that to control how the management operate the company.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I think this is a very clear distinction there. What you're saying is governance is about setting up the rule, and management is more about implementing that rules and policy. Is that right?
Yeah, because for a company, they're at the quite larger company, there will be the board director,
Yeah.
and then there is another party, another team of person. There, for example, like COO, CEO, that is we call management, and then yeah, there's two different of people. Yeah, and then the corporate governance will be something like to describe how the board the director board to to guideline the management to do
I see.
to operate. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would lean towards, so I think I find myself agree with the definition. I think it makes sense to me because it does look like it's clearly show the difference between like who makes the rule and what is the process of making the rule and the policies, and um, management is about taking these rules and the policies and implements it, right? Anyone else have any experience, or you have experience with with governance in the work that you want to share, or insight, or experience? Yes, Karen.
Yeah, so I've worked with a few in different governance support roles, and I guess I agree. Sorry, I missed who spoke last, but I agree with that definition that the corporate governance basically is the rules about how the business will operate, and so governance, in my understanding, is the perimeters and the boundaries of how the company or the organisation can operate, and that's set up through policies and uh, and uh, and different committees and risk registers and all of these different components to guide the organisation and make sure that it is on track with the organisation strategy, and any decisions that that exceed a management level would go to the board, which is a much higher level overview of the entire organisation, whereas I guess management's a bit different because it has there is a blend of operational things within management, and that doesn't exist in the governance level of um, uh, of an organisation. So I guess governance has a very top level view and can have a very bird's eye view over the entire organisation to make sure that it's operating within the structures and the frameworks that have been established for that organisation.
Oh, thank you, Karen. I think this is a very good answer. And yeah, that covers like all the concerns that I have, all the confusion that settle all the confusion that I have. And I think that agree with what King He was saying about the governance is at the level above management, right? So even the COO and CEO actually report to them. because they operate at the board level. Yes, Daniel?
I just wanted to, my experience with it. So we're ISO 27001 certified. So we've got so many rules and regulations, and we have a guy who loves this sort of stuff. So he got to sit there and when we decided to go for certification and set everything up, says read all the policies and say we have to have a meeting with these key people every fortnight, and the broader business every month, and it's just rules and rules and rules.
Okay, so governance. In that case, so that ISO that you were speaking about, is this related to governance, or what you're describing was just like how you encounter some guy who talk about governance a lot about
so
rules?
I guess we rely on the governance provided in that ISO 27001 framework to make sure that we have a certificate that that we can hand out and says yes, we follow this sort of like this framework and we are compliant. And then if we fall over, then our risk and compliance guy will jump up and down and say we're at risk of losing certification. Yeah, there you go, that one. Yeah.
Is this one, right? Yes.
ISMS. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. So thanks, Daniel. And of course, when it comes to rule, when there's a lot of rules, and we will see there's a lot of standards there to sort of like unify all the rules in one place and say that okay, if you follow this, then you would have this governance things. And and I did check out this the EIC 27014 when it's describe how you would like structure the governance of information securities. And the word governance here is used as, I'm not sure whether as a verb or as a noun, but means not as an act of creating the governance, but the process of governance, which makes it even more confusing. But I think this table explained it quite clearly. It's about assigning the responsibility to different people. And and from this picture, I think it's clear that they can assign roles and responsibility to like the management people. So it's mean to do that, they have to operate at the higher level, right? For example, the governance is about the structure of like who doing what and who responsible for which part. And in cybersecurity, some of the key responsibility like who gonna set the security policy and who is responsible for responding to breaches and responsible for audits, coordination, etc. And in a typical company with cybersecurity governance, and they would assign this role to cybersecurity, so chief security officer, for example. Yeah, so this is a good example of what a governance, what is the output of a of governance. Like, is this list, is this accountability list? And because this list assigns a role and responsibility to management, so it means that to produce this list, you have to operate at the higher level, right? Oh, thank you, everyone. I think it's clear a lot of my my confusion about these terms. And as you said, it's all about the rule and policy, and governance is about who and how to make the policy. Okay, so I think I was going to discuss this overlapping, but I don't think we have time because there's still activity in the workshop to do. So if we have time, then I might come back to this very interesting Venn diagram that shows there's some overlapping between information security and IT. But what's interesting here is that you don't see information security as a complete subset of IT, right? So this is an interesting question. It's an interesting observation to reflect upon. Right, so let's get to the workshop activity this week. And here is like a more concrete description of the ABC Corporation. I just want to clear the Dao from Hua earlier when and when he said one of the example of ABC could be is running a landscaping company. But in this example, ABC is a global business specializing in technology services. There's some keyword here, services, and it's global business. So and it's specialized in technology services, and it has recently experienced an increase in attempted cyber attack. Some keyword here to take note of: attempted cyber attack. It doesn't say like how many of them has been successful, but it has observed an uptick in those attempted attack. And the target is the sensitive business critical data that this company maintain. And in response to that, the leadership team, I can imagine this is like the governance team here, is prioritizing strategic initiative to strengthen its cybersecurity posture. And it includes protecting data, instilling strong culture of security among employees, and creating robust contingency plan to minimize downtime and impact. Right, so the task is fill in this table. And if you have started in assignment 1, then you may see some similar table to this. So this table asks you to discuss the goal, to list out the goal. It's very short. You should not write a full paragraph for the goals here. This is the one short and sweet sentence be sufficient. So the goal, and from this goal, how you translate it into 2 objectives. And for each of these objective, what would be the strategy that you adopt to fulfill this objective? And then the tactics, right? Remember, the objective must align with the goal, and the strategy must be relevant, and it makes sense, right? You can use the strategy to achieve the objective, and the tactics are more day-to-day or more short-term tasks that you need to do. So the task 1 is to complete this table here. This table, this slide give you an example of what the goal look like, and it give you goal 1 already. So the task asks you to come up with goal 2 and goal 3. And for each of this goal, can you please elaborate this into objectives and 2 objectives, and for each objectives, elaborate on the strategies that you will use and the tactics that you will use for this. Okay, so to do this, I would strongly recommend you to loop back to the scenarios again. And when you think about the goals, right, it has to align with what this leadership team wants here. Okay, so it has to be relevant to the use case. And after this is some reflection questions, like what role the ABC Corporation Board of Director plays in cybersecurity governance. So from our previous discussion just now, it looked like the Board of Director is the one that performs the governance, right? But there could be more that they can do related to cybersecurity governance. And the second question is how, as a security professional, do you think the best, I mean, as a security professional, what do you think the best way to communicate this risk to the board? Because the boards are not technical people, right? And so what is the best way to convey the message to them that there's a certain risk the company is facing? Right, and another interesting question to think about is, as a board member, how would you proactively stay informed about the new cybersecurity threats? Okay, so this are more for the reflection. I think the one that I would like you to focus on now in the next 20 minutes or so is to fill in this table. Okay, I will create a document and then I will share the screen to everyone, and then we will ask you in after 20 minutes what goals that you have, and then we can vote for the best one here, and then we fill it into our shared documents, and then we see. right? So just think about 2 goals and 4 objective, 4 strategy, and 4 tactics. Okay? And then we can discuss in 20 minutes around 8 o'clock. Okay, have fun, everyone. If you have any other question, you please type it in the chat and I can try to answer them. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Let's resume, and let's try to fill this table. I have prepared here just an Excel sheet, and then yeah, let's try to fill this. We have 2 goals, right? So let's start with the goal first, and if we have more than two go, and just might as well add another goal here, and then yeah, we can come up with many different goals. Right, so let's start with goal 2. Anyone want to shout out the answer to this? Yes, Babak, what do you think is the next important goal?
So I'm just going by the case study. It's saying that in response to ABC's leadership team in prioritizing strategic initiatives and cybersecurity posture, this includes protecting data. That was the example, I believe, that was provided. The next point, it's saying instilling a strong culture of security amongst employees.
Okay.
So I took that as goal 2. And and my goal was implement company-wide cybersecurity awareness.
Oh, okay. Implement company-wide. Yep. Company-wide
cybersecurity
awareness. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have another goal that we can add here? And then we can ask other people if they have other different goals, and we can populate them.
Okay, so I went by, I didn't get to goal 3. Because goal 3 would be the next point in the sort of scenario overview, which was creating a robust contingency plan to minimize downtime.
Okay.
What I was trying to, but I went objective strategies for goal 2. I didn't do goal 3 yet.
Okay. Okay. So let's.
So are we going goals first?
For now, let's try to enumerate the goals first.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can see a very good strategy here is to picking off the description and rephrase it. It's very good. Yeah, it's a smart one. Yeah. So King Hey, you want what would be the goal 3?
Yeah, refer to the case study. The first point should be there. Create a robust contingency plan. That means that there should be something to face to do when there is a cyber threat. So my point the goal should be establish a comprehensive incident response framework for the cyber attack.
So that would be the goals, or that would be the objective, because we are talking about the goals now. Yeah.
The goal, from the case study should be the contingency plan, but more particular, therefore, for a normal company, for a contingency plan, is the first step. There should be a incident report framework or incident report guideline that when there is everything discovered about the cyber attack incident, every employee should know who directly report to and the time frame and everything. So the goal should be the reporting framework.
Okay, so I think for the goal, you can afford it to be a little bit broad. So, for example, if you say that the incident response is part of the contingency plan, then maybe you may want to leave it for the objectives. Yeah, because if you started too specific, then it's hard to refine them as you go down.
Be the objective one. Thanks.
Okay, so anyone else have other goals in mind? I mean, I see the strategy here is just taking the point from the case study. But any other goals that you want to add?
Yeah, sorry, Daniel.
Daniel, yes, Daniel.
I did. I kind of didn't do what the other guys did and pay attention to the goals that were in there. That was the smart thing to do. I had prevent unauthorized access to business critical data using compromised accounts.
So what you're saying the goal is, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So prevent unauthorized access to business critical data using compromised accounts.
Okay, unauthorized access.
Yeah.
With you using compromised data.
Yeah, with compromised accounts.
Compromised account. Okay. I will just leave it here for now because I think what you is quite specific, right? So it means from this goal, you might need to refine it to objective and then to tactic as well. So I think one of the suggestions could be just prevent unauthorized access, right? And then you can leave like how to do that later on. So would it be okay if I remove the using compromise account for now?
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so others we have other goals as well. Hi, Babak.
Just because I just assume that we need to look at the assignment, like the brief, and then come up with goals. So going to the contingency plan, I think it was King that came up with an interesting thing. His view was when it comes to contingency plan, it was incident response. From what I understood, it was more along those lines. What I thought of when it comes to contingency plan, here it says contingency plan to minimize downtime. So for me, that goes back to the element of availability. So things around so it would be essentially ensuring that availability is increased, let's say to 999 or quadra 9. That would be the goal.
Yeah.
And my sort of thought around that would be things around like encrypted data backup and essentially disaster recovery and redundancy, stuff like that. That would come later in the objective, etc.
Yes. I think there are more than one objective, and if both of the objective like sort of contribute to the contingency plan, then I think that that'd be good. That'd be good too. And remember, contingency plan. I think what the contingency plans are for, but for minimizing downtime and impact, right? I
Business
mean,
continuity,
Yeah, contingency mean that you have backup and minimize the impact and downtime. So I think it's okay to spell out like quick contingency plan to minimize downtime and impact in the goal too. Yeah, but at the goal level, you can afford to be a bit broad and vague, and then you use objective to refine them, right? So just coming back to the goal first. Anyone have other goals? Yes, Andres.
I have one other goal. Be deploy a proactive cybersecurity monitoring and incident reporting system.
Can you repeat that again? Deploying
proactive cybersecurity monitoring and incident reporting system.
Incident response and reporting system.
Yes.
Okay.
Something to log all requests and basically alert people if there's something happening.
So the goal is to implement incident response.
Proactive incident response system.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like best practice. Let's just say best practice. Incident response. Okay. Right. Okay, so I would just leave it here for now because once you set the goal to be very specific, very technical like this, then it might not be easy to set out the objective. For example, let's start with you, Andre. So with goal 5, how will you refine this goal into 2 objectives? What would be the objective 1?
Objective 1 would be to create a real-time threat detection system.
Real-time threat detection. Okay, threat detection.
System. And objective 2 will be develop and test incident response.
Okay, that's fine. I think that's good. Test. You mean test incident response system. Okay, and how would you translate this into tactics? And I would skip the strategy for now. But let's say how would you realize this objective 1 into as tactics?
Well, the first tactic will be to select and deploy the system which will work for the business. So there are a variety of the system which we'll have to test and find out which of those would basically work. And second would be to deploy and configure the system for the business, create specific business rules so the system will work in the business environment. And for the second probably create a document first of all, or let's say create a series of documents to document protocols for standard attacks, phishing, data breaches, ransomware, and basically conduct a exercise with the staff to basically show them how these protocols should be applied, how they basically test with the staff those scenarios and see how they will respond, and ensure they know what to do in each scenario.
Okay, so the first tactics for this objective 2 is to test the system.
Yes. So in this case, the testing might be either synthetic test, basically intrusion detection test. So either hire someone outside to perform intrusions, and see if that is how system will respond to this. And second, obviously, it can be basically if someone on the staff level will be targeted as a threat, ensure that this is covered as well. If not system, but people are under the attack, they know how to respond.
So insider threats, or insider someone from the inside, right?
Yes, well, not from the side. That might be from outside as well, but basically test system itself. It's resilient. Test people.
Okay, testing people. Is this what you meant by testing the people who use it?
When we create, basically, when we basically create those protocols for people, how they would respond in case they are under attack.
Okay.
For basically some standards, at least for some standard scenarios.
Okay.
Like ransomware, if they get phishing email, if they get a spam call, what they do, how do they respond to that?
Okay, that's good. I think that is good. That I mean, my only worry is that how you refine this tactical go into like more detail, but apparently that you can do like this. The only one comment that I would have is that the objective have to have some time frame, right? So it's important to have some time frame. So I think for this one you might want to add like by 6 months or by 8 months, nothing like that. To cover all the cases, but that's good. Yeah, thanks, Andres. All right, so I think let's go back to the goal 3 on contingency plan. So the one I see is incident. Okay, can King Hey or Bak, you have this one as a goal, right? Do you want to elaborate on the objectives, please? Yes, Babak.
So for the contingency plan, since in my head it was more around availability and a bit of integrity in there. So objective 1 would be to, let's say, implement encrypted data backups across all critical data by, let's say, by end of Q2 2025, for instance.
Okay. So I'm curious here, why encrypted backup?
Data address can be attacked and sort of exposed if not protected. So it was important, I think, to just add the word encrypted.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. That's good. And how would you translate into tactics to realize this implemented backup?
Okay, so I'm skipping strategy here.
Okay,
so
now let's do strategy as well. It's follow the flow.
It's all good. So I would basically have a solution delivered by a market leading vendor for encrypted data addressed, basically.
So it's you third-party vendor. That's what.
Yes, this is a technical control. To get a it has to be a third-party vendor developing such a solution. Would probably be very, reinventing the wheel. I would go with a market-leading third-party vendor. Yeah.
Okay, good. And what will be the tactic to realize these strategies?
Tactic 1 would be to essentially implement the tool, and tactic 2 would be to train the responsible staff into administering the tool once it's delivered.
So training the tool, training staff. But you said implementing the tool, but the strategy said use the third party, right? So why do you need to implement the
so the strategy is to use a third party, but the tactic would be to actually have the tool installed and delivered by the professional services of the vendor.
Okay.
That's the tactic, to have that strategy delivered.
Yeah.
And the second would be, once the vendor has installed it and have it set up and tested, then someone needs to administer this system. Ideally, you would have your own staff administering it, running it, rather than depending on a, let's say, a continuous contract with a third-party vendor.
Yep, I think that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good objective, and it's good strategy and good tactic as well. So yeah, let me ask if anyone, if King Hei or anyone else who have this goal of contingency plan, do you have? Can you contribute on this other objectives? Yes, King Hei.
Yeah, I think the objective two I think of is quite similar to what Andrews mentioned. It is to develop incident response plan, and which to ensure every employee to know that when there's incidents, what's to be do, and then document it, and then make sure that all the employees know when there's occurred, how to do it.
Yeah.
And then the time is just same as Barbara said, is by Q2.
Okay, so
yeah, because it is not a very difficult to implement this to develop a plan.
Yeah, so you guys have nothing else to do in Q3 and Q4 then. Everything finished by Q2.
Annual leave
because
for everyone.
It is not very difficult for the company to develop something like this. It is just procedures.
Okay, so in the objective, maybe we want to keep it very short, right? So I think by saying that you develop an incident response plan is good enough for the objective, and then you can expand more on like what does this mean in the tactics, right? So like for example, training the staff and thing like that in the tactic. But I think it would be good to keep just developing incident response plan as a objective.
Yeah, so the strategy first, and then for the strategy should be within the incident response plan, there have to be defined the key role and responsibility in the to form an incident response team, which means that there will be a special team appointed as an incident response team, and which team member have a clear role and responsibility when the incident happen. To do.
Yeah.
And
so
for
basically,
the tactic,
your team. Yeah.
And for the tactics, there is what I mentioned before: appoint the incident response person to respond in different incident occurred, and someone have to be oversee the procedure, including have the how to training and some regular updates in place in this response plan.
So the first tactic is to appoint a person, but then what is our second tactic? Can you say that again, please? I missed
The
that.
seventh tactic is to document it, to have this response plan, and then to promote or to educate all the employee about this plan.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, thanks. I think it's more on the management level here, right? On the process. You're focusing on the process of like of having the plan here. That's good. I think some other members in the audience also choose this goal. Do you have any other objective that you want to share related to the contingency plan? So we have two objectives here: is encrypted backup and have a incident response plan. What else can we do? I mean, is there any other objective in this? Yes, Babak.
So the other thing I thought about contingency plan essentially was around sorry, Karen, do you want to go instead? I mean, if you want to.
Yes, Karen.
Oh no, that's all right. You can go if you want. I just was, and this might have been touched on. Sorry, I just had to zone out for a few minutes. But yeah, I had implement implement disaster recovery and business continuity plans. Has that already been put in there?
Is that part of contingency plan? I mean, disaster recovery. Is that would you say that is part of contingency?
To a level, I think it would be. Simply because I was looking at with this one, I actually didn't even make it to the strategies. I only just filled in, I only filled in the objectives, but like some others have mentioned, I did it off I just basically pulled the examples from the case study. And I guess in context of that entire sentence, where it says creating a robust contingency plan to minimise downtime and impact during cyber incidents, I guess it's more of an after incident plan rather than during. So yeah, maybe it's not relevant.
So would it be okay to put that as an objective, is to create a disaster recovery plan? I think recovery plan is a bit is more specific than incident response. I think incident response require you to understand what happened first, right, and then respond to it. So yeah, I think it's perfectly valid to have a disaster recovery plan in place. That's to implement this one. And do you have any suggestion on the strategy?
No, I hadn't actually made it that far. And actually, sorry to drill on this point, but just talking it through, then now I'm in two minds about it, because I'm just looking at, it specifically says during, like, to minimize downtime and impact during cyber incidents. So would that sort of level of detail, I guess, cancel out what I've just suggested? Because the disaster recovery plan is something that would happen after rather than during.
I think during here means that after this happened too, because the incident happened along. I mean, you can count from the time it happened and by the time it's resolved.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So it's not just one point in time when it's happened.
Yeah. And the disaster recovery could be part of that in reducing the impact. Okay. But yeah.
Because you can only do that after you have detected that happened, right? So you can only reduce the impact after you have I mean, after this incident that happened. So it's not strict. The wording is not strict. So during here is not like within the split seconds. But
sure. Yeah.
It could take days.
Yep. But yeah, I hadn't thought through the strategies. Sorry.
Yep, that's great. It's no problem. Hi, Baba. Let's coming back to the objective. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, the objective that I thought around contingency plan was around basically system. I'm forgetting what I had in mind, but it was around essentially building redundancy around systems, because it was around availability.
Yep.
So
it's about backup, but the backup on the server instead of backup just the data, right? So you have redundancy.
Network, correct? So essentially implement a let's say implement a robust redundancy plan.
I think redundancy is a good word for it. Because it's it encompasses a lot of things. So redundancy means that the system, if one thing down, the other one can just take over. Yeah, that's a good word. And
by,
it's more
it's
Q3. More than just backup.
We have something to do in Q3.
Very expensive though. I mean, redundancy means that you have to have a copy of the system. And it's not cheap.
Yep, definitely. And one strategy to achieve that, so here I'm assuming that their current environment is more on-premise, so is to develop a cloud-first strategy. And that would be this one way to, that would probably be an excellent way to build that redundancy, essentially.
Yeah. So you
expensive,
want to,
but yeah, I'm not factoring costs here at all.
You want to migrate it to like to the cloud?
So essentially a hybrid environment where critical information is still on premise, whereas transactional or lesser thing would be on cloud. But I mean, it could also be private cloud, but essentially, I think with cloud, you have a better chance of addressing what the requirement is here, which was minimize downtime. So assuming, let's say, an incident occurs, they can quickly switch over. Cloud enables that. And let's say when it comes to downtime, it could also imply things like DDoS. And with cloud, it's very elastic, so it can handle sudden uptick in demand. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what the clouds are for. That is their value proposition, really. And yeah, that's very good. That's very good strategy. It's expensive, as you said.
We don't have cost limitations apparently on this case, so ABC is rich.
Yeah. I mean, but later on you will see that there's some downside to this when it comes to privacy and data security too, and it might not be possible to migrate everything to the cloud. But yeah, I think it's a very good point. Yeah, very good strategy to have as well. Okay, I think we have time for one quick question or comments because we're running out of time. If you guys have any, please speak up. Okay, thanks everyone for sharing this this goal and objective. I think there's a goal 2 we haven't touched yet, but I think this one seems to be quite not too hard to get it right. It's about training people, and once you have the objective right, then the tactics just follow. But the key point to remember here is that you can afford to be vague and broad in the goal, and you use that one to refine, and you rely on that fact to refine the objective to be made more concrete, and the tactics will be the most concrete one. And the example that we see is in the goal 3 and goal 5 here, and the goal 5 is a very good example. You start with a very concrete goal, but you're able to manage to refine it to the tactics. So that's good. Hi, Karen. Yes.
Hi, sorry for the last second question, but I just wanted to clarify. So the difference between objectives and strategies would the best way to put it to be that the objective is what you want and the strategy is how to get it?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Entirely correct. Like the approach, strategy is more like the approach to get the objectives.
Yeah, and then the tactics are the steps of how to achieve the objectives. Yep.
Yes, you get it correctly.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Maurus, yes, you have a last second hands up if you want to ask a question. Okay, all good. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining, and I will see you guys next week. Enjoy the weather when it's good. Stay
Thanks
indoors.
a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Stay
Thanks,
indoors
Alan.
when it's
Thanks,
hot.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.